Good morning everyone, hopefully everyone is having a good time during the holiday times. I'm Daddy Odin here to bring you the week 3 content summary as well as week 4 predictions. In this video we'll be also doing ranking of teams based on 3 weeks of performance. The performance might be a little bit skewed because of the patch dropping right in the middle of the season, but let's try to be as much as unbiased as possible and not factoring in that patch heavily into the rankings. Week 3 was filled with a couple of one-sided games and intense fighting-oriented game styles. Probably because of the new patch coming, a lot of different heroes have been coming up into the play. Before we go into all the games of week 3, let's check the hero spotlight. The hero spotlight for week 3 was Mirana with 73 win rate over 15 matches in patch 7.28 of AD2L. I think we'll quite likely see a lot of Mirana, probably more core Mirana because of the changes that have been made to the Ags and Ag Shard, or transitional core Mirana with the Clockwork or Mars offlane, where you start as pos 4 and eventually end up being built like a core. We'll also be seeing a lot more Pucks, Nyx Assassin played in the pause 5 role maybe, because a lot of the offlaners, they have a lot of uncontrollable damage, and because of the buff that the Nyx Assassin got, I think a lot of people are going to be trying to play it so that they can bully them with the Spiked Carapace. Now let's talk about week 3. The first game that we have is Petting Zoo Rejects versus FOTP. Very interesting draft coming from PZR. Game 2, it was actually a safe lane Earthshaker with a tri-lane of Earthshaker Darkvillow and a last pick Abaddon. I'm not really sure, and I really don't want to sound like I'm trying to flame here or blame PZR, but I'm not really sure what a support Abandon was going to achieve against the Sniper Alchemist that game. I think there were better picks, like maybe Ancient Apparition, which can also go into that tri-lane factor that they were trying with the Earthshaker Darkvillow. But yeah, game 2 was definitely crazy. Both teams actually responded to the tri-lane. It was tri-lane against tri-lane, where the offlaners were actually playing solo and both the safe laners were sitting in the tri-lane facing each other. And unfortunately for PZR, the FOTP's Alchemist actually won the tri-lane, causing it very hard for them to come back into the game. It was really hard. I think Alchemist also is one of those heroes who will be shown more in AD2L as well. I think he got some nice buffs, and I think the orientation of the meta is slowly changing back towards the Alchemist. Game 1 is all on Red Seal. He was carrying FOTP. He was going crazy on the Death Prophet. He was just making plays, making space for the Wraith King, and just made the game go a bit longer so that the Wraith King can come and kill everyone. I think PZR needs to really get their roles fixed. I think so. I think they are trying to change roles after game. I think that's really harming them. I think if they prioritize in learning their specific roles, I think they'll be doing really well, because they have really talented players. I think it's only coming down to drafting and swapping roles constantly, which is harming them. Next series we have is ROT versus ROR. Resultant Orient Thinkers versus Routers of Rohan. This game went 1-1. Game 1 was actually a nail biter, very close game, back to back until the last fight, actually, to be honest, where ROT won the last fight and took game 1. Unfortunately for ROR, they just slipped at the last team fight, and game 1 did not really go as planned for them. But game 2 though, ROR came with some finesse and fierceness and just snowballed on ROT. The mid Snapfire definitely brings the win for ROR. I love Snapfire mid, and it shredded the TB. The TB did not have any game at all in game 2. He was trying his best to be able to survive in these fights, but they did such a good job on ROR just killing him, or at least zoning him out. Next series we have is Wasted versus Soul. This game, I have great respect for Wasted Youth for trying out pause for Storm Spirit in a new patch. It didn't really go as planned for them, but they did experiment it, and that's just taking an extra step and getting better at the game. Game 1, TB was heavily contested for Wasted Youth, and Game 2, it was actually very one-sided. A greedy lineup from Wasted, and Soul just had the tools to punish them, and they ended the game very fast. Next series we had was Sabers versus Helmets On, and I don't think Arc Warden is really working for Helmets On. I think they're having some difficulties rounding up their draft around Arc Warden. I think they need to prioritize Arc Warden as the main damage dealer and the safe laner to be the assister in doing crowd control for the Arc Warden. Maybe like a Faceless Void, or maybe like a Sven who is tanky and who wants to run at them, or something like a Void Spirit as well from safe lane. Also, game 1, Sabers got their Mirana, Sanking, and Pugna, so they were playing in their comfort zone, and they got game 1 in the bag. Game 2 was quite up and down. Game 2, Huskar did get caught out of position and baited his team multiple times without his BKB. But that surprisingly made enough time for the Gyrocopter on Gavprint, and he came online and he destroyed this lineup of Helmets On. But I think the person that surprised me a lot in that game was definitely the Ember Spirit. Safe lane Ember Spirit. He definitely popped off. I think if they pressured Sabers enough a bit before and weren't too scared of this Gyrocopter, I think Helmets On would have won the game. I think they were the Roche fight definitely did not help them a lot. Losing that Roche fight definitely kept them behind, and they lost the game. I think Sabers also died in that Roche fight, and then they came back for the same Roshan, and Helmets On died the next time. Looks like both the teams don't like fighting near Roshan. Next we have is the PSG versus Grin Reavers. It went 0-2 in favor of Grin Reavers. Both games, it was pretty much the show off Licky the Cow. He was just feeling it before the game even started and just popped off on his heroes. And game 2, PSGS actually came with an interesting draft. We weren't sure what was happening during the drafting phase, but as the game was unraveling, we were actually quite scared. The Vengeful was doing a lot of damage, and we thought we actually might lose if we don't make enough space for our Anti-Mage. And luckily, we were able to take it to late game, and Anti-Mage was able to bring us a win in game 2. Next series we have is MTL versus PLB. The series went 1-1. I think both of these teams have a lot of potential in them, but it's not being displayed in the games they're playing though. I think they're holding back a bit. Not sure if they are playing for their full potential. I was quite surprised in game 2 when they won with quite a greedy lineup, which I think was mostly because PLB weren't able to maintain lane pressure and pushing into them in the mid game. But good job on MTL constructing the farm that is going into Dr. Geo, making sure that he does not enable the late game assurance that is usually there for PLB. Last but not least, we have WS's Cobalt versus TBD. This was actually quite a surprise for me. I know that TBD is a strong team, especially because Harb is actually playing safe lane this season. But I didn't really expect Cobalt to lose both their games. Maybe it had something to do with the patch dropping as well, but the series did go 1-1. I assume the series would go 1-1, but it went 0-2 in favor of TBD. I think the MVP of this game, for me to clearly say it because I did watch the whole series, is probably going to be Phantom. He just popped off on his Mars. I think he carried both games with his beautiful 5 to 4 man arenas, which just pumped so much damage into them. I think TBD were the ones who adjusted much better to the patch, I believe, than WS's Cobalt, so kudos to that. Now let's go on towards the ranking before we do the predictions. At number 1, I currently have a tie. I'm not sure who to give the number 1 place. It is between TBD versus Soul. So if you both have scrimmed before, let me know, send me the game match ID or something like that so I can see it and maybe come to a conclusion or something. But if you both do go for a game in AD2L in week 5, 6, we'll probably know which one is the top dog at that point. But my reason behind keeping these two teams in the top seed is just not how well their team communication is there and how well they're playing and taking these team fights, but also their team average MMRs are around like Legend 3 or 4 for TBD and Legend 5 for Soul. So it doesn't surprise me too much that they're playing at a really high skill level or really good skill level, because most of them are near that skill level, so it's much easier for them to play at their that level. But other than MMR alone, as I was saying, they have really good team coordination and really good communication, most likely in these games, and they seem to be having fun. Both the teams, they're laughing, they're talking in Discord, and they're just cracking jokes at each other. So I like when I see that kind of camaraderie between teammates. At third place or second place, I have Wasted, Grin, Reavers, and WSS Cobalt. I think it is a three-way tie between these three organizations, the three old organizations and contenders. I think they're staying pretty close to performance with each other. Even though WSS Cobalt lost 2 core players, they're still looking really well. The replacements that they find are fitting in really well for their team. And I believe ACDU did not lose any players, but I might be mistaken. They haven't been having quite the season. They may have lost a couple of games, but they lost to the top 2 teams in the Contenders division against TBD as well as Seoul Invictus. It is preseason and with a patch coming, so they're probably adjusting. Next we have Grin Reavers. This is my team, so I sadly can't give too much information or they will kick me. I think we're in a good place. Win or lose, we are laughing, and that's something that I hold really dear to me. I really don't care about winning. I only care that we're having fun as a team, and Grin Reavers are having that fun, and we're memeing around as well while we play our unranks and pubs. I think as a team we're coming on very nice, and I think I'm expecting great things from Grin Reavers. Next, in third place, I actually just gave it to one team. It is PSGS. I think PSGS is a fine team. They can be aggressive if wanted, or they can play that 4 protect 1 very nice by making that space, and even take it to like a greedy core lineup into the late game. So they have the advantage of playing the early mid game, ending games at like 25 to 28 minutes, as well as playing a game for 48 minutes, which I really like. And Jamo can always find a way to farm, even on a safe lane Vengeful. When we were playing in week 3, they were able to get the farm on the safe laner, even though we were pressuring the jungle very intensely. I think they are also very adaptive as well. That's why, because of the adaptation ability, and also because it's preseason, I'm going to be placing them in the third place. If they do lose to Sabers this week, even one game maybe, I might consider bumping them down into the other rank and pushing those guys up maybe. I'm not sure. But I think PSGS are a really good team. I think they're returned from season 27, I believe. I seen their name before when I was playing in season 27. I'm not sure. I think that was the season I took a break or something. But anyways. In fourth place, I have ROT and RR, both Rs, who are the stable teams of AD2L. I think both teams are very well skilled, and I think they are on the same skill level. They might be in rivals at this point, to be honest. Both are really good at taking team fights, and I feel like their communication is on point, because I met them in my pubs a couple of times when they were playing as a team or just a duo. And they were communicating really well, and their team fights in AD2L competitive scene as well are looking very good. And I applaud to that on both the teams. In number 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 5, we have Sabers, FOTP, and MTL. I think Sabers can be in the same rank as ROT and ROR, but I'm not 100% sure. I think the only reason they are one rank below is because of the inconsistency that they have from game to game. Some games they perform super well where they get everything done, super aggressive, and they get all the objectives and all the check marks. And some games I feel like they relax way too much or something, and they let go of 20k net worth advantage, and they sometimes lose a game. So because of that one reason, I am going to be keeping them in one rank below. But we have one more rivals as well. I think MTL and FOTP, I think they are rivals. I'm not sure. I have seen some Discord messages which might incline me to say that they're rivals. But when they face each other, you can see sparks flying in the air. But they're actually kind of polar opposites. MTL are the aggressive kind of people who like to play early game, and FOTP are the ones who are definitely going to make sure that you play a game that is 60 minutes long. And I think that's talent, to be honest with you. If someone is able to prolong a game to 60 minutes, that's kind of impressive. I'm actually want to see how Sol Invictus is going to be playing against them in this week 4. If Sol Invictus actually are forced to take a game to 60 minutes by FOTP, and if they lose, I am going to be bumping FOTP a rankable or 2 at least, because I think taking into late game is just such an important tool that will help them in the future games that they are going to be playing. Okay, next at number 6, I believe we're at. I forgot to number them, but Helmets On or PLB. Both teams have quite some potent teammates, but something is missing. I think some kind of flame or fire is missing. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe drafting or adaptation to the patch, both 7.28, as well as a bit of the 7.27 as well. I think some of their hero picks are a bit outdated, and I think I know it's preseason, so they're probably experimenting before they go into playoffs with their real thing. But I think these two are definitely sleepers. As I said before in week 3 content video as well, I think we should keep an eye on these guys because I think they will be surprising us. Helmets On does have a wonky mid player, but I think he has probably the weirdest style of mid. He sometimes plays such a greedy heroes like Grin, and sometimes plays aggressive heroes like Puck and Queen of Pain. So hoping for good things from these two teams, but let's see what happens in the upcoming weeks. At the last place we have Petting Zoo Rejects. I think the Roaring Tigers are not roaring. In fact, it looks like the Tigers are actually caged in the zoo more. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to PZR. They're not doing so well as a team. They were once like praised as a tier A team in season 26 or 27, and in season 28 or 29 or 29 and 30, they're not doing that well or performing the same way that they did. I think they really need to figure out how to use 3 support players in a new and creative way, and I really do think they need to figure out who's playing what role and not constantly changing a core to a support. I think you can change between core and a core and different roles, but I don't think you should be changing a core and a support. I think that will be harming the team more than it's doing a good thing. Let's quickly do the predictions for week 4. I'm not going to dwell too much on these predictions. The first game we have is TBD versus the Grin Reavers. This is my team. I don't want to sound biased. Of course, we will be going in the spirit of trying to 2-0 TBD, but going from unbiased perspective, I think this game could go 1-1. I'm not sure, but if we are feeling it, it should be a 2-0 against TBD maybe. But next series we have Sabers versus PSGS. I think this game should be in the bag for PSGS. It should be 0-2 in favor of PSGS. Next game we have the Petting Zoo Rejects versus Pool Lizard Boys, and I feel like this is gonna go 1-1. I'm gonna give one last week of hope for PZR. I think they are gonna be able to take a game off PLB. But going on, we have next series MTL versus the ROT Resultant Orient Thinkers. This is going to go 0-2 in favor of ROT. The next series we have is WS's Cobalt versus Wasted Youth. I think this is going to be even matchup, 1-1. I think both teams know each other very well, and I think it's going to be quite an interesting game to watch as well. Next we have Rados of Rohan versus Helmets On. I think this is going to be 2-0. I think Rados of Rohan are going to be winning these game series against Helmets On, unless Helmets On pick better heroes, and probably not a greedy mid, and they'll probably be able to take at least one game away. Next we have FOTP versus Soul Invictus. This is going to be probably a 2-0. Also Joe just said not to predict a win, so that we win. So I'm going to predict it being 0-2 in favor of Soul Invictus. So good luck to all the teams playing in week 4. I'm Daddy Odin, and that's all for today's week 3 summary as well as week 4 prediction content. Sorry for the delay. Things have been happening in personal life. Work has been hectic and stuff like that, so I wasn't able to actually get to the content. Sorry for the delay, and Happy New Year, and hopefully everyone is having a good holidays and everyone is staying safe inside. Toodles.